Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now, a fairly unexpected new thing that I'm not necessarily a fan of, but I don't know, it might be fun. Ultimately, we're gonna have to wait and see how it works out, but we will be getting new Cav EQ difficulty buffs in December, and they're not gonna be class-based. So they're gonna make it, significantly more confusing. Because previously, I figured the class thing kind of works. Now we're gonna have to start sorting champions by tags, which takes longer, is more annoying, and is also significantly more specific. Because previously, if they had 6 quests, 1 class each, then you knew for a fact that you can use up all your roster. Now when they do these tag-based matchups, I'm sure that there's going to be a portion of champions being completely left out. And ultimately, I guess the success or downfall of this entire change is going to be to, how effective, fun, and interesting these buffs are going to be. However, surprise, surprise, seems like we're getting crossfights jammed at us everywhere. Variant 8, AQ map 8, and now Cav EQ as well. So it's all going to be kind of based on crossfights. Crossfights themselves, so basically each crossfight grants 30% attack rating. After winning a fight, up to 5 cross charges are converted into crossfight fury passives lasting the next 2 fights, increasing attack rating by 15%. So you're going to be basically gaining attack rating in the fight, and that also will kind of half of that attack rating will be carried over for next 2 fights. And, we'll see how it works out. And that's kind of like the important thing, because each of these different buffs kind of are set to let you build the crossfights with different groups of champions. And then we have Spider-Verse and Symbiote and Sinister 6 champions, where gain an evade charge whenever they knock the defender down, which grants 100% chance to evade unblockable attacks. Whenever an unblockable basic attack is evaded, the defender's possibly stand for 0.9 seconds. And then you gain 2 cross charges each time Spider-Verse, Heroes, Symbiotes, or Sinister 6 evade any attack. Max stacks 10. So basically, you're going to have to evade. Well, you're going to have to knock the opponent down. Then, you're going to have to evade an unblockable hit. And then you get 2 crossfights. That's going to increase your attack. And that's more or less how all of them are going to work with different kind of conditions. And here's the note that every 6 seconds, defender gains unblockable charge, making the next attack unblockable. And that is how you can make sure every defender will have access to unblockable. Then we have a group of defenders, thunderbolts, and inhumans, which again is going to work around the crossfights. Now you're going to need to inflict physical vulnerability debuff on the defender when they end the combo with the different attack they ended their previous combo with. So you're going to have to alternate your combos. You're going to get physical vulnerability. And then attackers gain cross charge each time they inflict defender with armor break, bleed, or physical vulnerability debuff. You can get up to 10 of those. And you get power locked if they are not debuffed. Then we're going to have dimensional beings, Illuminati, and Thanos' army, which is, the 4 Black Order guys. Dodge, duck, dip, and dive. Attackers nullify 1 armor buff on the defender whenever any hit from the defender's special attack does not make contact with the attacker. So, whenever you evade and dex opponent's special, you nullify the armor buffs. Gain a crossfight charge each time you nullify an armor buff. We're kind of seeing a trend. So there's basically 1 node that gives you some sort of ability. Then there is the node that grants you crossfight charges every time you do something specific, and then there is the 3rd node that kind of makes it more difficult and tricky. It's basically the same setup, except now we don't have furies or prowesses in the fight. We get crossfight charges, and it's not class-based. It is based on these groups of champions. Mercenary, Guardians of the Galaxy, New Avengers, A-Force, Fantastic Four. Then we're going to have Avengers, and so on and so forth. So again, we're going to have to, take a closer look to each group of the champions, I suppose. And that probably will take a separate video where I will kind of go over all of these. Hopefully tomorrow, before the quest goes live, it'll be interesting to see when we like put Spider-Verse symbiotes in Sinister 6, what we can use and like, you know, what would work well. All in all, it is something I definitely didn't expect to happen. Again, I'm personally not the biggest fan of this entire CrossFight shebang. I'd rather see just like actual nodes, because, you know, like in map 8, when you're dealing with these CrossFight abilities, you kind of have to rely on one champion or go without the help that Kabam has intended to give you. And then you're kind of like forced to stick with one champion. And the problem is that sometimes you get like tricky defenders, you might need to use something else than it was planned, or, you know, if you get KO'd, then again, it kind of goes harder. So all in all, despite me personally not being a fan of this new trend of CrossFight ability, actually I'm not a fan of anything that I recently do, because the paradox I absolutely hate too. But whatever, that's a moment of self-reflection here. I genuinely dislike paradox, and I'm also I dislike paradox more than I dislike CrossFight charges, I guess. But yeah, no, I'm not a fan of these recent developments in the design philosophy, so to speak, because I think it's overcomplicated. I think there is just far too much text in any given fight. And, you know, when you start to have to read and memorize entire Bibles to do a quest, and like a specific lane, just one lane in a quest, and then you need to memorize another Bible to do another lane in a quest, it starts being a bit too much. And I think Kabam has definitely completely ignored their wow to kind of make things, you know, interesting, but at the same time more straightforward and simple. They mentioned it in their last dev diary when it comes to champion design, but champion ability descriptions have exploded, and also with like node abilities also seem to have exploded. I just don't want to be reading that much when I play the game. I really don't. And I think it's becoming a genuine problem. Whenever we see a new piece of content, you just get overwhelmed with the sheer amount of text that's in front of you. But, you know, we're going to test it out. Maybe after we get used to it, you know, it's going to be fun. I don't want to sound like negative Nancy. So ultimately, I think if the fights will turn out to be fun and interesting, and perhaps most importantly, if it doesn't take a lot of time, because there was a lot of tuning involved with Cav EQ to make sure it doesn't take like 5, 6, 7, 8 hours to do it. So they gave us, you know, more potent buffs that we could ramp up quicker, so we don't do single fight for like 3-4 minutes, because that is kind of like essence of Cav EQ. It's a monthly thing. You know, it can't be too easy, but it can't take forever. And ultimately, we're going to see how they have tuned these, and whether, you know, it's good enough, so to speak. So definitely something new, something more interesting for the December, I suppose. And, you know, hopefully it's enjoyable. I will make another video where I will go over like all the sets of tags, where I'm going to be highlighting kind of like the best champions for each of these node combinations. That might be quite a long video, but I'll try my best to upload it tomorrow relatively early-ish. But that is about it. Let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you guys soon. I'll leave a link to this post in the video description. See ya! Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about